I'd sneak out while I think the alumni are talking to the players. They had some pretty good stories I might miss, but so I think the last time we talked, we hadn't been in pads yet, so we've had 3 days in pads, which is good. Most of you guys were here. I didn't think the first day in pads was very good for us, and then or maybe it was the second day of the day we had the short yardage goal line. But I thought the guys stepped it up after that, after we challenged them in meetings, and then today was the 10-10-10, so it was kind of more execution and mental. We got a long way to go. We got a lot of guys banged up, so we're kind of working through that. But with that, I'll just open it up, fire away.
There's been every day a different defensive leader. You know, yesterday Drew was kind of chippy and getting into it. George has had a day. Nick has had a day. Is that just something that this defense does, or?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that's a thread of all defenses. I'm certainly hoping it's a thread of ours. I don't think there's anything wrong with being chippy as long as we remember that we're all on the same team and that there's there's some respect there. And I think our guys handle that pretty good. I mean, we didn't get no fisticuffs yet, right? So nobody wants to encourage that. But listen, the game's physical, and the one thing we have conveyed to them is, you know, especially the vets, like when you add up the number of plays they get in the 3 preseason games, I don't know, let's say it's 35 to 50, but you might be a DB that never gets to make a tackle. You know, so some way you got to work on it, and to me, it's out here when you have pads on, and so we do what we call wrap and release, and that kind of maybe leads to some of that. But I think the offensive guys have been good about it.
Does that kind of go with Nick? I noticed there that you are preaching right now, no on and off switches always.
Yeah.
Does that kind of go with that?
Yeah, he knows that picture that I put up. It has the, you know, that the switch has an on that plate and an off. Well, the off's crossed out. And they know when they step on the field. I mean, that's how you have to play. I mean, when you take plays off, we don't get enough of them. We have a lot of walkthroughs. So the reps that we do get in the morning, we got to take advantage of, and they got to be full speed.
What kind of progress you've seen from Felix?
Felix? Yeah, I think Felix has gotten a little bit better every day. I think there was a couple practices there. He struggled a little bit. I think his confidence is better. The last 2 days, he's been pretty good. Like today, I thought he made. Yesterday and today, I thought he did pretty good without watching the tape. I thought he had some good plays.
Coach, your top 3 linebackers, Bolton, Tranquil, and then Leo, just role-wise, how do you kind of see them this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, those are our base linebackers. Those are the 3. Then we try to get them in, mix them in there sometimes, and you know, other downs and distances, possible third down. I think all 3 of those guys have certain skill sets that we would like to use. You know, get them out there. Now, when you got 3 linebackers in there, you know, somebody's coming out. There's one less DB or there's one less D lineman. So we got to work our way through that. But one of the things we do like being is multiple. And when guys can play different positions, like Leo, he's kind of all over the place. Drew is, you know, and Drew's got to play some Mike linebacker. And yeah, you get to about next week. I talked about it with the staff the other day. You got to start thinking about guys in dual roles now, because pretty soon it's not whatever the number is out there, 90. You know, it's not 90 guys anymore, and all of a sudden our number of guys shrinks. So guys are going to have dual responsibilities.
There are a couple of corners who are hurt right now, so Kelvin Joseph's getting a pretty good run. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, Kelvin, I don't know if you know, he had a baby, so he was gone for a little bit. We lost him there, so he was a little bit behind. He's playing catch-up now. He's getting some work with the ones. He made a couple of plays yesterday, so he earned that. But he's going to be right in the thick of the things with the other corner. I mean, you need 3 of them, and he's made enough plays, I think, to warrant working with that first group.
With Drew, Trenkle specifically, I know it was on the team last year, but him and Nick were sharing the field together all that frequently. How do you see the dynamic of them both being?
You're saying sharing the field out here?
Yeah, just Drew and Nick.
Yeah, listen. The one thing about both those guys is they're both very cerebral, very smart. So I think they feed off each other that way. That goes a long way when I'll bet if you ask D linemen, they tell you that they appreciate the guys that are behind them are really sharp. You know, they're ahead of things. You know, watch out for this motion, watch out for that shift. They change a D lineman here. And when you got 2 guys can do that instead of just one, I think it makes everything go a little bit like that. And I think the rest of the defense knows that about those 2 guys and really rely on them. I mean, I'll watch DBs go over and ask Drew and Nick questions about it. It might even be playing DB or something in the defense because they know that those 2 guys know exactly what's going on.
Seems like Brian Cook has had a pretty good camp.
Yeah, we missed him when he got hurt last year. But the one thing about Brian is he goes 100 miles an hour all the time. He'll tell you he was a little bit rusty getting back into it, but I think it's kind of smoothing out for him right now.
Let's wrap it up. We'll start with Saran.
Is it important, I know you're trying to replace Legarius and you talked about how tough that is and everything, but you want a 1 and a 2 and a 3, or do you see a scenario where maybe your depth comes into play and it could be matchup driven as to who's that 3, or is it important to have kind of that pecking order of where guys are?
Well, we know who our number 1 is, right? We all know that. And we're just trying to find guys, and we're going to have to find our next 2 best players, however that works out. I mean, we know NJ, Nazi's dealing with his little injury right now. Josh has been out there. Kelvin, there's a lot of guys mixing in there. But somebody's got to surface, and if not, it gets tough. You can have the best pass rush in the world, but these receivers get open quick if you're not able to cover them. So we got some developing to do. We certainly miss LJ, but somebody's got to step up there and take that play. I'm waiting for somebody to, assert themselves and say that, I'm that guy that can do it. Nah, we got a little ways to go on that, in my opinion.
When you were telling the guys about having one of the best defenses in the league and then having a disappointing year the next year,
Yeah.
did you want to see? Are you seeing what you wanted to see? That fire, that chippiness, and what are other things you want to see?
I would say yes on that. I know what you're talking about because I conveyed that to them. I mean, look, we all learn from experiences, and I'm always sharing that with them. And so that was an experience that I went through, and my promise to them was I was going to do everything I could to make sure that didn't happen again. And that kind of began with how we operate and practice. That's the on-off switch, which we've always had. But I just wanted them to realize that just because you can't sit on what you did last year, it doesn't automatically happen. And we got a lot of work to do. Got some. We're talking about players we got to fill in for, and we got a long way to go before we figure that part out.
Trent is so good at just about everything, Steve. Is this a period?
It's a good statement.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a true statement.
Is this a period or a time where you're asking him to be more aggressive in terms of what you mentioned, the last time we talked to you about takeaways, trying to get your hands on the ball as much as possible?
Trent in particular, you said? Or, yeah. He's got a natural feel for all that. And, I mean, look, he's waiting for his first NFL interception, right? I mean, but I told him this before. He got voted – when did he get voted All-Pro? By his peers last year. I thought that was the hugest compliment to a DB that did not have an interception, because that tells you all you need to know. So to your point, he does a lot of things really good, and I'll guarantee you he's got his eyeballs on trying to get a couple of picks this year. But the other thing he does a really good job of is he's created some fumbles by having a knack for getting it out. We need all of that from all those guys.
Coach, what's the value of these 10-10-10 days for you?
Yeah, more mental than anything. I think we went 3 straight days with pads, and I think Coach Reed would tell you the same thing. It's a good way to get a lot of work done, right, but take a little bit of the physicality off. And it was about time with our guys, and now they'll have the day off, and I think it works out pretty good. Yeah. It's a little agonizing for me sometimes because you can't do anything physically.